Hi, this is Annie with Wildflower and Stitch. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be making this pink and white lady slipper granny square. This granny square is part of my State Flower granny square collection, and the pink and white lady slipper is the State Flower of Minnesota. Two things before we get started with the tutorial. First of all, this is an easy intermediate level tutorial. So while I will be showing you step by step how to make this granny square, I will not go into a lot of detail for very basic crochet stitches and techniques. So if you're very new to crochet, I would recommend you start with one of my beginner friendly tutorials before moving on to this one. The second thing to mention is that this is my original design. You are more than welcome to use the squares that you make with this tutorial in any of your crochet projects. I just ask that you give me credit for the design, and I will include super simple guidelines in the description of this video on how you can do that. To make this granny square, you are going to need 4 different colors of yarn. I am using this Hobie Rainbow 8/8 yarn, which is a 100% cotton yarn. It's a number 3 lightweight yarn. And with this yarn, I am using a hook size 4.5 millimeters or US size 7. And with this hook, this yarn, and my tension, this granny square ends up being about 4 by 4 inches. Then you're also going to need a yarn needle for weaving in your ends and a pair of scissors. We are going to start our granny square from the middle, so by making the center of the flower. So go ahead and grab whatever yarn you want to use for that center. And I'm going to start by making a slip knot. Put it on my hook, and I will chain 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I bring this into a circle by slip stitching here into that very first stitch. Now, if you prefer to use a magic ring or any other technique to start your granny square, you can absolutely do it your way. But this is the way I'm doing it. All right, I slip stitch there into the first stitch to bring it into a ring, and I chain 1 stitch. And now for the center of the flower, I am going to need 8 single crochet stitches around the ring that I just created. And for me, that chain 1 that I just chained here, I'm going to count this as one of those single crochets. So I need 7 actual single crochet stitches. So I'm just gonna go ahead and insert my hook in the very middle of the circle. Grab that yarn and bring it through. 2 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. There's my first actual single crochet. And chain 1 again counts as my first single crochet. I'll make another one. Insert the hook, bring the yarn through. Yarn over and pull through 2. 3 so far, and this is how I keep going all around this circle. Now, important to mention, I know that some people don't count that initial chain 1 that I chained as a single crochet. So if you don't do that, that's totally fine. What's going to matter for our next round is that we have 8 stitches here on the outside that we need for our next round. So if you don't count that as anything, that's totally fine, as long as you have your 8 stitches on the outside that you plan to use for our next round. I will show you here in a minute how I count my stitches, so that if you do that part a little differently or close you around differently, you can still make sure that you have your 8 stitches. All right, let's see how many I got so far. Single crochets, I find it easier to count them here on the outside. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now when I close this round, this becomes my final stitch. So I have 8 stitches right now. So for me, I like to go into this very first stitch there on the outside. So I'll just insert my hook under both of those loops, grab the yarn, bring it through, and bring it through the loop on my hook. And now for my next round, I plan to use this one here as one of those 8 stitches that I need for my next round, as well as the stitch that I just slip stitched into. So both of those stitches count as stitches for me. So again, if you do it differently, any of this differently, the only thing that really matters is that you have your 8 stitches that you plan to work into for our next round. And I chain 1 here, excuse me, and then I can break my yarn and fast enough. The reason I don't count that chain 1 there as anything is that, sorry, the reason I do count that chain 1 there as a single crochet is that I find that if I don't count it as anything, I get like a weird bump here. So it's just a personal preference to do it that way. But as with so many things in crochet, no right or wrong, just do it your way. Okay, so that's the center of our flower. All right, we are going to start working on the petals of the flower. And as you can see, I've created 4 petals here. 3 of these petals are white, and then we have this one pink one. And I'm going to start by making the pink one first. And the way I like to attach my yarn is I make a slip knot again. And I put it on my hook. And then I will insert my hook into one of these stitches here that I double check that I have 8s here on the outside edge of my circle. So I insert my hook under both of those loops and I bring the new color through and bring it through the loop on my hook. And now here I like to make sure that I pull this yarn tail tight so that it doesn't escape anywhere. If you attach your yarn differently, again, feel free to do it your way. All right, my yarn is attached. And now I'm going to start by chaining 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I work 5 double treble crochet stitches into the next stitch that I have here on the outside. So I attach my yarn there, I chained 5 stitches. You may want to make sure that you pull this chain more toward this end of the stitch, because when we finish this round we are going to chain slip stitch back into the same stitch. So make sure that you have a little bit of room here. So chain 5 and I work 5 double treble crochets into the next stitch. So not here where I have this chain of 5, but into the next one. And for double treble crochet, I go yarn over 3 times. I have 4 loops on my hook. I insert now into this next stitch. Pull that yarn through. I have 5 loops on my hook and I go yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Double treble crochet. I'll make another one. Yarn over 3 times, 4 loops on my hook, insert in the same stitch, bring that yarn through, 5 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. I have 2 double treble crochets so far. I need 3 more. So 3 loops on my hook, insert in the same stitch, bring that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. I'm playing a little bit of yarn chicken here, so we'll see who wins. All right, 3 so far. 2 more. So 3 yarn over 3 times, insert still in the same stitch, bring that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. 1 more. Yarn over 3 times, insert still in the same stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Let's see what I got so far. I have that initial chain 5. In the next stitch, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double treble crochets. And now I will go chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now I will slip stitch into the next stitch here. So not where I have these 5 double treble crochets, but into the next one. Slip stitch, pull that tight, and I chain 1, and I can fasten off this color. I won, by the way. And pull it tight. All right. And now we are going to switch to that white color. All right, we are ready to attach the new color. I did weave in this pink end just a little bit. You can leave them to the end if you prefer. I take care of some of them as I go. I'll link to a separate tutorial for the technique that I use for weaving in my ends as I go. So you can take a look at that. I'll put the link in the description. But of course, if you want to leave your ends to the end, you can also do that. All right, so now I'm going to attach my yarn into this very same stitch where I slip stitched this pink color. So I chain 5 and I slip stitched. Now I want to go ahead and attach into that very same stitch. So again, you might need to pull this chain a little bit to that side so that you have room here. So I insert my hook and I bring the new color through and bring it through the loop on my hook. And again, I like to turn my work here and I pull this yarn end tight. Oops, should be tight. All right, and now I'm going to start, excuse me, by making this petal here. And I'm going to start by chaining 3. 1, 2, and 3. And next I will go into the next stitch and make a treble crochet in there. So yarn over twice for a treble crochet, insert in the next stitch there on the outside, pull the yarn through. I have 4 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And now I will make a picot with just 2 chain stitches. So chain 2, 1, 2. And now I slip stitch back into this second stitch from the hook. So first stitch, second stitch. I slip stitch here. And then I make another treble crochet into that same stitch. So yarn over twice, insert in the same stitch where I have the previous treble crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And after this second treble crochet, I chain 3 stitches again. 1, 2, 3. And now I will slip stitch into the next stitch here. So not where I have these 2 treble crochets, but into the next one. I secure that chain 3 there with the slip stitch. All right, that is my first white petal there. And now next I will work this big one here. And I will again start by chaining 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then I work 3 treble crochets into the next stitch. So yarn over twice, insert in the next stitch. Four loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Another one, yarn over twice, insert in the same stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. One more, so yarn over twice, insert in the same stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So far I have that chain 3 there, and then in this stitch I have 3 treble crochets. And now I'll make another picot here to make this pointy petal. So I chain 2, I slip stitch again in the second stitch from the hook. So 1, 2, and then I work 3 more treble crochets into that same stitch. You might need to pull this a little bit to make some room. Yarn over twice, insert in the same stitch where you have the previous treble crochets. 4 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Another one, yarn over twice, insert in the same stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. One more treble crochet still in the same stitch. So yarn over twice, insert in the same stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And then I will chain 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And then I slip stitch into the next stitch here, again on the outside edge. So not where I have those 6 treble crochets, but into the next one. So slip stitch there. Here we go. And we're missing now the final white petal, this one. And it's going to be identical to this one here on the other side. So I start by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I work a treble crochet in the next stitch. So yarn over twice, insert in the next stitch here, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Then I work my picket, so chain 2, and then slip stitch here into the second stitch from the hook. Slip stitch, and then another treble crochet into that same stitch. And then I chain 3, and now I will secure this last petal where I first started. So into this very same stitch where I have that initial chain 5 there in that pink color. So into the same stitch. Let's see, I have so many yarn ends here since I'm weaving some of them in. All right, in that same stitch. And now this concludes the flower part, and next we're going to start working on the square around it. All right, so before I can start to crochet the background, I need something behind these petals for the square. And for that purpose, I am going to be making one more round in that white color. And I'll be making loops of chain stitches behind these petals. And that's going to help me to crochet the square around it. So I start right where I close this round with a slip stitch there, and I chain 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now this loop goes over here on the back side, and I secure it with a slip stitch here between these 2 petals. So what I like to do here is I pick up 1 loop from each side. It's really tight. And I go through 2 loops. And now usually I like to pick up the loops that are the closest to each other, but this here it's a little tricky because as you can see I changed color here, and that first loop is just really tight when I first attach the yarn. So I'm going to pick up the second stitch counting from here. So you see 1 there, I pick up this one, and then I skip the first white one and I pick up the second white loop from there. If you have a better place that you prefer for attaching these loops, you can absolutely do it your way. Actually, I'm going to put this yarn end through there so that it's easier for me to weave it in when it's already there on that side and not pointing toward the outside. All right, and I pull the yarn through both of those loops and through the loop on my hook. And there's my first loop of chain stitches. I chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I secure this here between these 2 petals. And now I pick up the 2 loops that are the closest to each other, so 1 from each side. And I bring the yarn through. Next one, I chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, secure it between these 2 petals. And 1 more. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now here I will just secure it to the start of this first loop. Make sure that it's secured right in the beginning of the loop. Chain 1, and then we can fasten off this color. All right, I am ready to bring in my background color. So once more, I make a slip knot and I put it on my hook. And then I attach my yarn into the beginning of one of these loops here on the back side. I'm still using my weaving as you go method, so I will be attaching it right here where I have the previous yarn end. So attach it right there. Again, I turn my work around and pull that yarn tail tight. And I chain 1. And now, technically I could start to crochet the square directly into these loops, but I'm actually going to add 1 more round here. You can see these stitches, they cover up these loops completely. So I am making 6 single crochet stitches into each one of these loops. And really the purpose or why I like to create those single crochets and after that start creating the square around this flower is in that I want to position the flower this way on the square. So we have this large white petal here and this pink one here. And I find it easier when I have a sturdy base of single crochets here to place those clusters with the next round. So this is how I decided to do it. So for this round, the only thing I'll be doing is creating those 6 single crochets into each one of these loops. And this chain 1 here that I chained after I attached my yarn, I am not going to count that as anything. So it brings me up to the right height, but I still need 6 single crochets into this first loop. So just go straight into that space and bring the yarn through. And we yarn over and pull through 2. It's a simple single crochet stitches. Let's see how many I got here so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need one more. Yep, one more. All right, 6 single crochets. And then I move on to the next loop here. So straight into the next loop. We don't need to do anything between here. So I finish my 6th single crochet in that loop, and I just go straight into the next one and make 6 single crochets into this one as well. So this is how we work all around. So 6 single crochets into each one of those loops. Go ahead and create all those single crochets in each one of these loops. Double check that you have 6 in each one of them. That's important for the next round. So work all around and then meet me back here where we started. All right, I'm ready to close this round, and I will close it with a slip stitch here into that first stitch there on the outside edge. Remember how we had 6 stitches here? I'll go into that first one there in slip stitch. And then I make one more slip stitch into the next stitch here. And now I will double check to make sure that I still have 6 stitches in this loop, because sometimes when we close around and do those slip stitches, we might accidentally get rid of a stitch. So I'm gonna count them here. This one here counts as my first stitch for this loop. You can see how these loops are right above this stitch here. This one here is going to be the first stitch for that loop, because these 2 loops are on top of the stitch here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm currently in the stitch number 5, and 6 stitches in this loop. And then this one here is going to count as the first stitch for that loop. So these 2 loops are on top of that stitch. And now this is important so that we can position the flower straight in the middle of the square. And I'm going to start my next round here. So I closed my round and I made one more slip stitch. I'm currently in the stitch number 5, counting from here, from the start of this loop from there. And I'm going to start by chaining 2. And this is going to count as a half double crochet for me. And I make 2 more half double crochet stitches into that same stitch. So yarn over, go in the same stitch, pull the yarn through, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 3. And one more half double crochet in the same stitch. All right. And I have 3 half double crochets here in that same stitch, since that chain 2 counts as my first half double crochet. And right here I am actually excuse me, I am actually starting in the middle of a corner, and it's this corner right here. So I just made this cluster here, and I'm going to start making clusters of half double crochet, always skipping 2 stitches in between the clusters. And in the corners I will chain 2, but this round starts right here in the middle of this corner. So here's the other corner cluster, and here's the chain 2, and I started here. The reason I start in the middle of that corner is that I don't want to make an excessive amount of slip stitches here. I find it easier to just start the corner in the middle. All right, and now I will skip, after this cluster, I will skip 2 stitches, 1 and 2. I will go into the 3rd stitch here and make 3 more half double crochets there. So skip, skip, go here. So 3 half double crochets into that same stitch. And now this starts my 2nd corner. So I chain 2 and I skip the next 2 stitches. Skip, skip. I go into the 3rd one, 3 half double crochets. There it is. I skip the next 2 stitches, skip, skip, and in the 3rd one I'll make 3 half double crochets again. So skip, skip, go into the 3rd one, 3 half double crochet stitches. My yarn split there a little bit. Let's double check this is right. All right, 3 half double crochets. I chain 2 for the corner. And I go again into the 3rd stitch. So skip, skip, and 3 half double crochets into the 3rd one. Here it is. I skip the next 2, skip, skip, and again 3 half double crochets into the 3rd one. Skip, skip, and into the 3rd one. So essentially with this round we are just creating the corners of the granny square with these clusters and those chain 2s wherever we have a corner. Oops, yarn split again. So now chain 2 for the corner, and again I skip 2, skip, skip, and 3 half double crochets into the 3rd stitch. There's a corner, and next again skip 2, skip, skip, and into the 3rd one 3 half double crochets. The reason I'm using half double crochets in this round and single crochets in the previous round is to make the square the same size as my other state flower granny squares in the collection. Yarn split again. Let's do it again. All right, And now if I look here, at this point I should have 1 and 2 stitches here before this very first cluster I made. So remember how I said I started in the middle of the corner. So now this cluster here is actually the other half of that corner. And I'll bring this corner together by chaining 2. And now I slip stitch here. So into that second chain stitch. And close around. All right, now if I turn this around, I can see better what I've done here. So I have created now the square around my pink and white lady slipper. And since I'm currently here, kind of in the middle of this corner, I am going to slip stitch my way to this next gap here, or between these 2 clusters. So I just go straight into the next stitch here, under both of those loops, and slip stitch. And I go into the next one, and slip stitch. And then I go straight into the space between these 2 clusters, and I slip stitch there. And I'm in the middle of this top side here, and this is where I start my next round. And now for the remaining 3 rounds, I have 3 rounds left. I will just create double crochet granny stitch all around this square. So clusters of 3 double crochets in each one of those spaces between the previous round's clusters, and in the corners I do 2 clusters separated by a chain 2. So if you have made granny squares in the past, this is going to feel very familiar. So I'm here in this space in the middle of the side, and I chain 3. And now this chain 3 here counts as my first double crochet. So I need 2 more double crochets for this cluster. So yarn over it once, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is the cluster for my side. Then I will move straight into that corner space there. I have that chain 2, yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So just clusters of 3 double crochet. So I have 3 double crochets in this corner space. I chain 2 for the corner, and then I make 3 more double crochets into that same corner space. All right. My corner is completed, and I go straight into that space between these 2 clusters on the side, and I create 3 double crochets here for my side. Here we go. So this is how I go all around my square. So next I have a corner space here. I'll do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. I create 3 double crochets in the middle of this side here, and then I move on to my next corner. So feel free to go ahead and work all around your square. If you need to see again how we made the sides and the corners, feel free to go back here, see how we made this corner here, make the 3 remaining corners exactly the same way. And for the side, you can take a look, see how we made this side, and make all the rest of the sides the same way. The first one is a little different because we started with the chain 3 there. But the rest of the sides are the same way we made this one. So work all around and then meet me here when you're ready to close the round. All right, I'm ready to close my round. So the last thing I've done here is I made my very last corner, and I have this side here. I started in the middle of the side. So I'll just go and I slip stitch here into the 3rd chain stitch that we made here. This, as you remember, counts as a double crochet. So I just go into that 3rd stitch and I slip stitch there to close my round. And then I slip stitch my way to this next gap here. So just like before, just going under both of those loops and then straight into this space. And I start my next round here. So I chain 3 and 2 more double crochets into this space. Here's my first cluster. I move into the corner space, 3 double crochets. After 3 double crochets, chain 2. And then 3 more double crochets into the same corner space. So now you know the drill because this round is going to be exactly the same way as the previous one. So just clusters of 3 double crochet into those spaces between the previous round's clusters. Now for the side we have 2 spaces here since our square keeps growing. And then in the corners we do 2 clusters separated by a chain 2. So feel free to go ahead and work again all around your square. And once you're ready to join the round, meet me back here. All right, I have finished this round and now I will just close it again with a slip stitch here into the 3rd chain stitch. So right there. Close that round. And once again, I slip stitch my way to this next space here. So I just go under the next stitch here, under both of those loops. Oops. And slip stitch. And under the next one, slip stitch. And then I go into this space here and slip stitch right into that space. And I'm ready to start my final round, which is going to be exactly the same way as the 2 previous ones. So I chain 3, which counts as my first double crochet, and 2 more double crochets into this space. Here's my first cluster. I move into the next corner space, 3 double crochets. I chain 2 for the corner and 3 more double crochets into that same corner space. Here we go. So once again, I'm gonna let you go ahead and work all around your square. So exactly the same as the 2 previous rounds. Cluster of 3 double crochets into each one of the spaces between the previous round's clusters, and in the corners we do 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. So work all around and then meet me back here. Alright, I am ready to close my final round, and I do it the exact same way I did the previous ones. So a slip stitch here into that 3rd chain stitch, close the round, and then I chain 1 and I can fasten off. Here we go, and here is my pink and white lady slipper for Minnesota. The only things I have left here is taking care of the rest of these ends here, and then blocking the square. This one has not been blocked yet either. As you can see, it looks pretty good, but I find the blocking just gives it a final touch, a more finalized look. But otherwise, we're all done. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you're posting pictures of your pink and white lady slipper on Instagram, please tag my account. It's Wildflower and Stitch. Thank you again so much for watching. If you like this tutorial, please make sure to subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave me a comment, and share this with a crochet friend. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.